There aren't a lot of things that everyone can agree on, but rats causing the Black Death is one of them. Filthy streets, fleas, buboes, don't look it up, and half of Europe gone. It's an open and shut case, right? Except maybe not. Welcome to the Goodish news channel. I'm Ashley, and in a time where 99% of the news is pretty terrible, I try to bring you current events that will get your mind off all that other stuff. I can't promise it will be great news, but today's story is at least interesting. New research suggests that one of the biggest killers in human history might actually trace back to a volcano from the 14th century. I'm not an attorney, but I've read a lot of John Grisham, and I'm here to say that my client, the humble rat, is innocent, and I'm going to prove it. This story stretches across 700 years, one badly timed eruption, a food crisis, and a pandemic that was just waiting to happen. Somewhere in the tropics around 1345, a big volcano erupted. No satellite images or news alerts to let people know what was going on, just the weather suddenly got weird. Over the next couple of years, parts of Europe got colder and summers got wetter. Growing seasons were less than stellar. Medieval Europe heavily relied on grain, so when crops were failing, they couldn't just say, "Cross your fingers for a better harvest next year." They would have starved. Scientists analyzed ice cores and found a big spike of volcanic sulfur from the mid-1340s, which was right before historical records start complaining about awful weather and food shortages. So we've got a pretty clear chain of events. A volcano erupts, sulfur infiltrates the atmosphere. This causes a colder, wetter climate, harvests are terrible, and now they've got a looming famine on their hands. To European leaders' credit, they could have let their peasants starve, but they scrambled to find a food source. So just like us when we run out of food, they went shopping. Unfortunately, they picked a really bad grocery store. The Black Sea region. At the time, it was controlled by the Mongol Golden Horde, and unfortunately, an area where the plague bacterium Yersinia pestis was already circulating. So we have grain being harvested, stored, and shipped, and researchers theorized that fleas that were feeding off the grain dust and happened to carry the bacteria hitched a ride to European ports. So the volcano didn't project the plague bacterium into the sky. Researchers think that what it did was create a demand for grain. And the best trade partner happened to be in a place where the plague was already hanging out. And just a few weeks after the ships arrived in Venice, the first cases of plague in humans were reported. Shortly thereafter, the Black Death was ripping through towns that just wanted to eat. The time difference between eruption and pandemic wasn't centuries. It was just a couple of disastrous, tightly connected years. In the mid-1300s, Europe wasn't exactly in what you would call its golden age. Cities were overcrowded and people had very questionable hygiene. Top it off with a medical knowledge that mostly boiled down to using leeches to cure everything, and you're one volcanic eruption away from the worst pandemic Europe has ever seen. But the reason the Black Death burned across the continent so fast and hit so hard wasn't just because rats are gross. It's that the whole system had already been weakened. Food supplies were unstable, people were stressed, undernourished, and crammed together. Trade routes were doing great business, moving both goods and germs. So when the Black Death arrived around 1347, it didn't show up in a strong, resilient society. It walked into a house of cards, one that a volcano helped shake a few years earlier. You don't get up to half of Europe gone from one unlucky boat. You get that when climate shocks, food crises, and trade all line up, with plague bacteria in the middle. The infection cycle of Yersinia pestis goes from fleas to rodents, but once those are killed off, the fleas move on to larger mammals, including people. So let's be fair to our suspect, the rat. Were they involved in the Black Death? Not intentionally. The fleas hitched a ride without the rat's consent. Then rats do what rats do, which is get into every nook and cranny they can find. And those places are usually way too close to people, because food. But did they cause the plague? No. But they didn't help. So what about the volcano? A mid-14th century eruption didn't directly cause the Black Death, but scientists think it did mess with the climate and screw up a few critical harvests, which triggered famine and pushed Europeans to buy grain from the wrong place. The volcano didn't swing the sword. It set the scene, handed everyone the weapons, and then walked off. The Black Death wasn't just some random rat problem. It was the end result of a short, nasty chain reaction that started with a volcanic eruption and ended with one of the deadliest pandemics in history. So, in my opinion, the rats are innocent. Mostly. And the volcano, fleas, and terrible hygiene? Those were the real co-conspirators. Is any of this good news? In a very specific, very goodish way, yes. This information doesn't exactly put a nail in the coffin of the Black Death mystery. Terrible phrase, but we're going with it. But it does offer up a possible explanation of what could have set off a very unfortunate series of events. And that information can be valuable to us today to prevent similar circumstances in the future. If you're looking for more good news in your life, be sure to check out this video right here. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing so we can ignore all the bad news together.